Hello everybody, this is Tip Top MTG here today with another Magic the Gathering spoiler video. Today we are covering more Ikoria Lair of Behemoth spoilers. Now, for the past weekend, I've been covering mostly Commander spoilers with like one or two standard spoilers in there, but today we're switching back to primarily focusing on standard with a couple Commander spoilers at the end. So, there's a decent amount of cards, so why don't we jump right into this? First, we have Patiga Tiger. It's a 5-cost creature cat with flying, and it says when it enters the battlefield, target human you control gets +2/+2 until end of turn. It's a very draft, obviously, a draft card, and it's trying to fit into the theme of humans matter, which is a theme within the set. Pretty bland. Next, we have In One Bite. It's part of a, kind of cycle where it's, I believe, they're just kind of like ways that things die. Either way, it's a 1 white sorcery. As an additional cost to cast a spell, tap an untapped creature you control, and you can exile target tapped creature. Put a +1/+1 counter on the creature tapped to cast the spell. Now, what's kind of interesting about this card is that if there is only one tapped thing on the field, and in response to you tapping your creature, they bounce theirs back to hand or sacrifice it, you now technically have to target your creature. It doesn't say you may exile target tapped creature, so it's kind of an interesting little interaction there. Now, for one, this doesn't seem bad. You tap a creature of yours and exile target tapped creature, which a lot of the scariest creatures in the game are going to end up being tapped because they're attacking, so pretty good. Next, we have Sanctuary Lockdown. It's a 3-cost enchantment, and it says humans you control get +1/+1. Again, human tribal. This one's a Lord card, but it's an enchantment. And you can pay 2 and tap 2 untapped humans to tap target creature an opponent controls. And you can actually do this as many times as you have mana for and humans for. So, if you have 6 mana and 6 humans, you can tap down 3 of your opponent's creatures. I actually really like this. Yeah, I really like this. Next, we have Cub Warden. It's a 4-cost creature cat, and it actually costs 4 to mutate, but it costs double white there. And it says it has lifelink, so immediately you're just going to give the creature lifelink. And whenever this creature mutates, create 2 1/1 white creature cat tokens with lifelink. So technically, if you're paying 4 to mutate this onto something, you're probably upping the creature's power and toughness. If you're not, you're adding lifelink to an already pretty big creature, and you're creating 2 1/1 white creature cat tokens. So I actually really like the card. Next, we have Capture Sphere. This is a reprint from Mystery Boosters, and last it was printed in Guild of Ravnica. So that means it'll stay around for a whole nother rotation of Standard. Actually, a whole nother 2 rotations of Standard. So, yeah, pretty cool. I'm not going to talk much about it because it's already in Standard, so there's not much to talk about how it will impact the meta, because it isn't going to. Next, we have Evasion Protocol. It's a 2-cost enchantment. It says whenever you cycle a card, you may pay 1 mana. If you do, exile target creature or artifact you control and return it to the battlefield under its owner's control. So, very similar to Astral Drift, which is a white enchantment that says whenever you cycle it or another card, you may exile target creature, just any creature, return it to the battlefield. So this one is a creature you own, but it can also hit artifacts you own. So kind of different, but if you're running something in like Commander, you may run both of them. So very interesting card. We have Sea Dasher Octopus. It's a 3-cost creature octopus with mutate for 2, so you can just mutate this out for 2. It has flash, so you can do this at instant speed, and it says whenever the creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. So the reason it has flash is that you're going to attack with 3 creatures, right? And then the one that doesn't get blocked, you're going to mutate this under it, and boom, now this creature has this ability, and generally you're going to then draw a card, which then a lot of people are saying this gives you a lot of card disadvantage. First off, just put it on an indestructible or hexproof creature. Second, a lot of them provide your either opponent with card disadvantage or you with card advantage. So this one, if you can just get 1 hit off with it, it kind of just replaces itself in his hand, and it's just a nice little perk. I don't see, a lot of people are saying this is the worst mechanic they've ever seen because it's so just gimmicky. But when you think about it, they're kind of just creatures that are also auras. You don't see every time they release an aura, people saying, oh, well, they should stop printing auras because if you just kill the creature, you lose both of them. There are people who say that, but they're not saying, don't print the auras, it's gimmicky. They're just saying it's a risky strategy. And then auras have things to go around it. For instance, auras that grant hexproof, although I don't know many of those. You can enchant things that have hexproof. So I think a lot of people saying, oh, mutate's a bad mechanic because it's too gimmicky are a little, they're not seeing this the right way. I feel like they should see this as kind of just adding text to cards, which is what auras already do. But I will say that the mechanic itself is kind of complicated. Like, where is the card after you mutate? Is it just non-existent? Can it not be targeted by things? Is it technically in your graveyard, but just underneath the creature to remind you that it has this text? I don't know. So, next we have Go for Blood. It's a 2-cost sorcery, and it says target creature you control fights target creature you don't, and you can cycle it. Pretty good card. We have Forbidden Friendship, which is a 2-cost sorcery, and it says create a 1/1 red dinosaur creature token. First off, dinosaur, that is a 1/1. Squirrels are 1/1 in Magic, so this dinosaur has the same power and toughness as a squirrel and a human. So this must be like a very baby dinosaur, but it doesn't look like a very baby dinosaur. That looks bigger than the human. Not that much, but still bigger than the human. Yeah, that's kind of interesting. We have Cathartic Reunion, which sees the same 2 characters, and it's a 2-cost sorcery, and it has an additional cost to cast a spell, discard 2 cards, and then you get to draw 3. This is clearly a worse Thrill of Possibilities, which pay 2 at instant speed, discard 1 card, draw 2. Much better, although I guess if you're getting discard triggers and draw triggers, this could be better. This was last reprinted in Standard back in Kaladesh. Next we have Tentative Connection. It's a 4-cost sorcery, and it says this spell costs 3 less to cast if you control a creature with Menace, so again, we're seeing more Menace tribal. Gain control of target creature until end of turn, untap it, it gains haste. So if you own something with Menace, this is a 1-cost steal spell. If you don't, it costs 1 extra than a normal steal spell, so, yeah. Alright, so next we have Blitz of the Thunder Raptor. It's a 2-cost instant, and it says it deals damage to target creature, planeswalker equal to the number of instants and sorcery cards in your graveyard. If that creature or planeswalker would die this turn, exile it instead. This is really good. This is a Beacon Bolt, but costs 1 less and can be done at instant speed. Now, it doesn't have Jump Start, so you can only do it once, but it also can hit planeswalkers, so this is... I think this is going to show us a return to that theme. We've already seen a couple mythics in the set, or at least one mythic in the set that cares about instant and sorceries in your graveyard. We've seen a bunch of cards that care about that, so I expect that to be a deck coming back into this. So that'll be interesting. We have a Lord Drakus. It's a 3-cost blue and red creature lizard beast 2/3, and it can be mutated for blue. Either it's a blue red, but so you could play this in a mono blue or a mono red deck. And then it says whenever this creature mutates, return target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. So you can take your best instant or sorcery card. You could take Expropriate if you're in Commander and just get it back for 2. And every time you mutate it, you also get to get it back. So that's kind of interesting. Next we have Cunning Nighthonder. It's a 2-cost creature, human rogue, black-blue. So this can again be in mono blue or mono black. 2/2, and it says spells you cast with flash cost 1 less to cast and can't be countered. Wow, that's crazy. This is, I think, the second... Well, okay, the other one doesn't say cards you have with flash. The other one says cards you cast at instant speed. And honestly, cards with flash is a much better mechanic than cards you cast at instant speed, because guess what? There are not that many counter spells that have flash. They're instant, but they don't have flash. So I would much prefer them to promote this idea of things with flash rather than things that are instant. Now, does that mean I want them to print 17 creatures that also counterspell things on the way in? No, but I want them to promote this mechanic much more than promoting casting instants. We have Savvy Thunderlion. It's a creature, elemental lion, red-white. Whenever you cycle a card, you may 2 is what the translation says, but I believe it means you may pay 2. If you do, it deals 2 damage to target creature and you gain 2 life, so it's repeatable removal in red and white. It's I think that's pretty good, and it's also a 3/2 for 2, so it's not bad. It also has the elemental type, which is not completely useless in standard, so overall this seems like a pretty good card. We have Frundland Felidar. It's a 4-cost green and white creature cat beast with vigilance, and it says creatures you control with vigilance have pay 1, tap target creature. So since they have vigilance, they'll be able to both attack and tap a creature. You could have them attack and then tap them mid-combat to tap creatures. So you could also use this as part of a combat trick, which is very interesting. I actually really like this. It also includes itself. It also has pay 1, tap target creature. Yeah. Then we have Luros of the Dream Den, which is one of the most interesting spoilers today. It's a 3-cost white and black legendary creature cat nightmare, and this is one of the companions, and it says each permanent cost card in your starting deck has converted mana cost 2 or less. And then it has lifelink, and it says during each of your turns you may cast 1 permanent spell with converted mana cost 2 or less from your graveyard. So if this is your companion, all of your permanents are going to cost 2 or less. Now, just note, this is each permanent, not each card. So, instants and sorceries can cost more than 2. Also, you could just play this in a deck with a lot of low converted mana cost if you don't have to play this as the commander. Also note that this would work really well in a mono white deck in Standard, so I think this is a pretty awesome card. Next we have Thwart the Enemy. It's a 3-cost instant, and it says prevent all damage that would be dealt by this turn by creatures your opponents control. So your creatures would still deal damage instead of just all damage being prevented. You could still kill all their creatures, and then, or like if it was a bunch of trades, you could then cast this spell, and it would turn into kind of giving all your creatures indestructible to non-murder effect, which is kind of cool. Alright, so next we have Exuberant Wolf Bear. It's a 4-cost creature wolf bear. Whenever it attacks, you may change the base power and toughness of target human you control to its power and toughness until end of turn. So this is another one of those cards we're seeing in Standard where your goal is to buff him up and he'll buff another creature up or a bunch of creatures up. You could put some aura on him and then boom, now you basically have 2 creatures with the auras on them, at least for the power and toughness matter. So I really like this card. It's an interesting design. I could see some people slotting it into a mutate deck. You can mutate this guy to be really big, and then it gives another human then whatever stats it is. So, yeah. So that's gonna do it for all of the standard, standard, but that's all for the Ikoria set. Now, next we have some commander spoilers. So we have Avenging Huntbonder, 5-cost creature, human warrior, double strike. When it attacks, put a double strike counter on another target attacking creature. That's crazy. You can just start giving things double strike. That's insane. Vitality Hunter, 4-cost creature, nightmare, lifelink, a nightmare in mono white, which is kind of weird. You pay X white, and it has monstrosity X, and you put a lifelink counter each up to X target creatures when it becomes monstrous. So very cool. We have Fierce Guardianship, which is this one is kind of a doozy. If you control a commander, you may cast the spell without paying its mana cost. Counter target non-creature spells. So this is another Pact of Negation, Force of Negation, Force of Will type effect where you can just counterspell something for completely free. Now you do have to have your commander, but here you don't have to exile cards from your hand, you don't have to pay life, you don't have to pay 5 mana at your next upkeep. None of that. You can just counter it, and that's like the end of it. This card I think is going to make a splash in Commander. Next, we have Shirley Badgersaur. It's a 4-cost creature badger dinosaur, and whenever you discard a creature card, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Whenever you discard a land card, create a treasure token. And whenever you discard a non-creature, non-land card, it fights up to 1 target creature you don't control. So it's doing different things based on what types of cards you're discarding. This obviously is going to go in a cycling deck, because it's going to gain you a lot of value from cycling, both on discard and draw triggers like throughout the deck, and this one's particularly a discard trigger, so pretty fun. Next, we have Slippery Bogbonder. It's a 4-cost creature, human druid, hex flash, and hexproof. And when it enters the battlefield, put a hexproof counter on target creature. Then move any number of counters from that creature you control, from among creatures you control onto that creature. So, Slippery, instead of him being the slippery thing, he can just give, so he has hexproof himself, but then you put hexproof on something else, and then you can also give it, say all your creatures had flying and hexproof, and, or I guess not hexproof, death touch and menace. You could then move all of those onto one creature that now has hexproof. It's kind of an all your eggs in one basket, but your basket has hexproof, so I don't know if you're really worried. And then we have a Cryptic Trilobite, which is a XX creature Trilobite. It enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it. You can remove a +1/+1 counter on it to add 2 colorless. Spend this mana only to activate abilities, and you can pay 1 and tap it to put a +1/+1 counter on Trilobite. Which, if I'm reading that right, you can remove a +1/+1 counter from it to then use 1 of that mana and tap it to put a +1/+1 counter on it. This is very close to going infinite. You just need something like whenever you tap something for mana or whenever you put something for mana. I don't know. This seems kind of risky. If you could mutate this in such a way or somehow put a resurrection ability on this, I don't know. This seems like it's really easily able to be broken because it can make mana, but then you can spend that mana to activate its ability. It's kind of unorthodox, but it's kind of interesting. I think depending on how it can be used, it might make a splash. So that's it for all the spoilers today. There's a lot less than normal. I don't know why. They might just take Monday as an easy day. But that's going to do it for this video. If you enjoyed, please hit that like button, subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next video. Also, something I don't plug very often, I have a Twitter page down below. I sometimes post about Magic news, sometimes post about upcoming videos. So check it out. See you guys in the next video.